Hey, good evening guys. Clay Westfall with Bushwhacker Bait Company here today, and I'm going to show you the drop shot with the loop knot on a very natural looking minnow type bait. This is awesome. I was so excited to make this video. There's a few things that I'm going to share with you. I'm going to just go ahead and start with how I have this thing rigged. So the first thing I want you guys to pay attention to is I have a very small soft plastic minnow here. I guess this is called the Fluke. It's made by Zoom, and I'd say it's probably about 3 to 4 inches long, maybe 3 inches or so. Just extremely natural. This is actually their smoking shad color pattern. Super good for clear water. I've got that on a bait, almost like a bait holder style hook. It's a little tiny little brass colored hook, extremely small, low profile. Normally, just to kind of give you a size comparison, I'll normally go with a little bit bigger of a hook, but this bait is so small, it's hard to tell, but I'd say probably this hook that I'm using here is probably about 60% of the size of my normal drop shot hook. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is such a small bait. So, I always come back to, how does a fish know that what you're using is not the real thing? And there's a couple ways that it knows. It knows by your line diameter, it knows by the size of the hook, in my opinion, and it knows by how natural the action is. Scent is another big one. I always put scent on my baits, but that's just kind of the general gist. Is I have the small hook, as tiny as I can get away with for this bait. I have this minnow nose hooked on here, so it's on the very, very end, and that allows a lot of freedom of movement. That's something I talk about in some of my other videos. I did a video actually on the drop shot loop knot previously. However, this is different because today, like I said, it's a demonstration with this video tank. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop it in here. Obviously the highlight would be the loop knot. You'll see why that's so critical. So when I drop it in the water and it goes to the bottom, it's kind of gliding super natural to the bottom. So let me do that one more time. This is awesome. So when I drop it in here, watch how that bait kind of glides and just falls. It's extremely natural. I mean, this is as good as it possibly can get, period, right here. So I've got this on 4-pound test, and this loop knot is hanging off probably about, I want to say this loop knot's hanging off probably about something like a couple inches. It's almost as long as my bait, but the whole thing is that there's such minimal, everything here is so minimal that it makes it very difficult for a fish to understand and recognize that what you're doing is not real. I mean, I don't see how you can mistake that for being fake. I mean, that's just incredible. That action is beyond amazing to me. And so, while I'm looking at this, one of the things that I'm looking at is I'm looking at this long weight that I have on the bottom, my drop shot weight. So with the drop shot weight, there's a couple different styles. There's like a teardrop style, there's this cylinder style, and then there's like a ball style. And so the ball or shot style, it's the round style. Whenever it interacts with the rocks on the bottom, it gets snagged a lot, and it'll get caught between the grooves of these rocks. And so I purposely put all these big rocks in here because I wanted to show that, like, whether it's grass or, rocks like this, I personally like to use this cylinder style because it'll slip in and out of these rocks a little bit better than if you had that ball style get wedged in there. You're gonna have a hard time with that. So anytime you're fishing around riprap, like on a dam or like a break wall or anything, that's like a big thing for me. Is I try to use a longer weight so that if it does slip in between the rocks, I can pull it back out and it'll come out straight out how it went in initially. So that's a big one. I'd say probably, I don't know, maybe like 50% of fishing is mechanical. So a lot of people think about the color of their lure, and they think about, like, what brand name it is, or, oh, it's the latest lizard or worm or whatever, but not that many people think about matching the presentation that you're using and the techniques to the conditions. They don't think about, oh, this style of weight and these rocks, or, maybe using something that's more streamlined that you're pulling through grass. Things like that really make a huge difference. I mean, knowing what tool to use depending on the cover is just a major key to fishing. So mechanically, fishing is so mechanical. I'd say it's, like I said, about 50% of what you're doing. And that goes for all different types of bass fishing, whether it's topwater, swim baits, spinner baits, anything. But those are the main things. Like I said, just to recap, I'm always talking about super light line. Not only does it make it so the fish can't see it or feel it, but it just makes the action that much more natural. And then, like I said, I take this tiny little hook here and I put it as close to the edge of the nose as possible. If I were to hook it back a little bit farther, it would stiffen the action of this minnow and it would make it less natural. But I barely skin hook it on the edge, and that's what results in this incredible action. I mean, to me, this is like, I rarely see someone doing this. They may throw a drop shot and they may use a little hook and all that, but they're not using 4-pound tests. They're not using a tiny little hook as tiny as my hook, and they're sure as heck usually not using a loop knot. The loop knot is something that I found from that actually crappie fishermen use for their crappie jigs, and they use it to give them more action. But why is no one talking about it with the drop shot? I don't know, but I'm talking about it now, and that's what makes it so special. And so yeah, man, try it, check it out, give it a shot, see if it works for you. I'm going to continue to put out stellar content. I'm at a point right now in my growth where I don't have a ton of following, on YouTube yet, but I know that if I keep showing you guys stuff like this mind-blowing kind of technique, it's going to result in a good thing. So try it out, like I said, and check out the rest of my videos. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.